tastes a little bit like a candy bar, how quick 200 calories gets down. So if you're a plant-based person choosing a protein bar, high protein and high fiber, just a quick recap on how you actually read the labels here. When you're looking for protein bars, there is one very simple rule that you want to follow. It doesn't matter what store you're at. Now we're at Sprouts because Sprouts has a wide variety of bars, but this is going to carry true to whatever store you're in. You want to look at a protein to calorie ratio. Okay, so you look at how high is the protein content and how low are the calories. That's usually a great indicator of finding the premier sort of protein bar. Now what we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at all kinds of bars, but we're going to try to figure out which ones might not be labeled as protein bars, but still have a lot of protein or good nutrients in them. So I want to start with one that is a really good wholesome bar, one that has a lot of good ingredients in it, but it's not necessarily a protein bar, and that's the Larabar. Now, I would rate a Larabar as a pretty darn good bar if you're just looking for basic ingredients. Now, what's nice about them is if you look at the ingredients of, say, this one, we have 3 ingredients. We have dates, almonds, and unsweetened cherries. But what you have to remember is that these things are small and still have 200 calories in them. So the caloric density, look at that. Now, very nutritious. So if you're someone that's maybe vegan and you just want to get some good nutrition in, these are solid. I have nothing bad to say about them. I just want you to realize how quick 200 calories gets down. So we need to be very, very aware of that. Now, I could go through any other flavor of Larabar and kind of tell you a similar thing. So when it comes down to choosing the right Larabar, if you're really trying to keep it simple, try to find the ones that are flavored with almonds versus the cashews. And it's a little bit sneaky. The reason that I choose the almonds is the almonds are going to be a lower phytic acid content. So that means if you have issues with anti-nutrients, where maybe you have some problems absorbing nutrients, well, cashews are a little bit rough on that. They're very high in the phytic acid content, whereas almonds are a little bit lower. So you just got to be careful here. Like, say, blueberry muffin, the primary constituent is going to be almonds. You are not going to choose this product for protein. If there is protein in it, let's see, in this case we have only 4 grams. So you're not looking at this for protein to begin with. But any protein that you are going to get in it is typically going to be an incomplete protein. Okay, let's move on down the line a little bit. I want to talk about these Think bars. So these Think bars are a high protein bar. Now, they are delicious, I will give them that. We just have to look at the ingredients here. So we've got a protein blend, which is soy protein isolate, whey protein isolate, calcium caseinate, whey protein concentrate. Now, where we get a little bit more nuanced is we get into the maltitol. Now, maltitol syrup is not like this dangerous thing. It's not a bad, unclean ingredient. But I want you to be aware that it is technically a sugar alcohol. So benefit is you might get kind of satiated because it fills you up, because sugar alcohols ferment in the gut. But if you're not prepared for a little bit of bloating, that could happen here. Now, that being said, Sprouts has a pretty good variety of like good clean ingredients to begin with. But this one is going to be focused on soy protein isolate as the primary source of protein, and then whey protein isolate second to that. So this is going to be good if you're not particular about the kind of protein that you eat. Now let's see, let's move along a little bit more. There's some that are a little bit more sneaky that have some good stuff in them, like these Aloha bars. So the thing I like about these Aloha bars is the ingredient blend is really nice. It starts with a protein blend, which is brown rice protein, pumpkin seed protein. That is a nice combination to make a complete amino acid profile. So if you're a plant-based person choosing a protein bar, this one is great for protein. Now, if you continue on down the line, you have dark chocolate. This one has cashew butter in it, which again, there's other ones that don't. Then you have sunflower oil, tapioca syrup, vegetable glycerin, which sounds scary, but vegetable glycerin is perfectly safe, totally harmless, doesn't do anything. It's just really there to kind of help hold it together. And there's a lot of worse things that you could choose than that. Sunflower butter, and then we've got cocoa extract, sunflower lecithin, and sweetened with monk fruit. Okay, so although it does have some sugar in there, the sugar is coming in the dark chocolate chunks that are in here. So you could easily opt for a flavor that doesn't have the chocolate chips. For example, well, the peanut butter cup. This one still has chunks of dark chocolate in there. So just know that unless you get one that doesn't have dark chocolate, you're gonna still probably have a little bit of sugar in there. Okay, let's move on to RXBar for a second, because these are kind of interesting. The ingredient profile, once again, is awesome. Nice thing is, ingredients are so simple, I don't even have to pull out a bar. I can show you right here. We've got egg whites, 7 almonds, cashews, dates. Okay, not going to be the best option if you're doing something low carb, and not gonna be the best option if, say, your goal is high protein. But if your goal is just a really simple, wholesome product made with real food, I do like this bar. First ingredient is dates, so we are definitely carbohydrate focused. In fact, if you look at this, we got 25 grams of carbs, we have 17 grams of sugar, which is coming from dates, which are going to be fairly evenly split when it comes to fructose and glucose. So not a huge insulin spike, but still be aware of it. It's a pretty high sugar content. We got vanilla bean. We do have some natural flavors in there, which we can't really comment on because they could be good natural flavors, they could be bad natural flavors. It's really hard to figure out. When I like to eat these bars is usually if I'm doing something that is involving a lot more carbohydrate burn. So I do use RX bars if I'm going on like a really long hike or a backpacking trip, because I feel like it's the closest way that I can get like comprehensive nutrient profile with the egg whites and the almonds and all that on like a hike. So that is a great use case for one of these RX bars. But again, it's not something that you would set out and say, hey, I want to get a bunch of protein out of this. Now, I do want to mention one that is good for the low carb. This one I am super stoked to talk about because yours truly is actually responsible for them getting into sprouts. You've seen me talk about House of Macadamia on my channel before, but I reached out to my friends at Sprouts and was like, you guys got to check out the ingredient profile here. To make it easy, let me show you here on the box. When we look at these, this is a particular flavor, is the white chocolate flavor. Look at the ingredients here. So we've got, first ingredient is macadamia nuts. Now, the calories are a little bit higher on this and the protein is kind of low. So you're thinking, why is this making the cut on this video? This is not a bar that you eat to say, hey, I need to get 30 grams of protein. This is more of a comprehensive fat bar. This has good profile of fats. It's low saturated fat and it's high amounts of monounsaturated fats. It's almost like drinking olive oil when you eat one of these things, not as far as taste, but as far as nutrient profile. The first ingredient, 45% of the entire ingredients are macadamia nuts. Then we have soluble tapioca fiber, sunflower seeds, white chocolate coating, which is cocoa butter, chicory root fiber, tapioca fiber, erythritol, coconut flour, coconut flakes, erythritol, allulose, sea salt, and stevia. Not a little bit of sugar in there. And that's the white chocolate one. White chocolate always has a few more things, but this particular one is the coconut white chocolate flavor. And this is going to be similar profile, except it's got coconut flakes as well. So definitely run into Sprouts. And if you can, if you have a Sprouts nearby you, go grab some of these just to support them, because the sheer fact of the matter is that we need your support. You vote with your dollars. We need products like this on the shelves. Now, all the products that I'm talking about today are good products. Don't get me wrong. If they're here on the shelves of Sprouts, they've already met a high mark. But we need to see products like House of Macadamia that don't have sugar, that have the good fatty acid profile. We need to see these floating to the top. The nice thing about the macadamia nuts in there is that oleic acid is very satiating. So you get those particular omega-7s, palmitoleic acid, that can really help you with your appetite. But there's also a lot of early evidence suggesting that they're very good when it comes down to insulin resistance as well. So if you're battling blood sugar, that would be a tremendous bar for you. In fact, the best use case for one of those House of Macadamia bars would be if you're someone that battles with high blood sugar and you just had a meal and you're trying to bring the blood sugar potentially down or control it a little bit more. That would be a tremendous option. So head into Sprouts, pick up a box of them, pick up a few. The more that they can get sold, the more that they're going to increase on the shelf space here and get at eye level, which is where we want them. If you don't have a Sprouts nearby, I popped a link down below that gets you 15% off when you subscribe to any product from House of Macadamia, plus gets you a free box of their macadamia nut creamer mix. So basically it's just pure 100% macadamia nut that you just mix with water and you make your own macadamia nut milk, or you can put it in coffee and use it as a creamer. So again, they're at Sprouts now. They also, if you don't like the white chocolate, they have their straight up chocolate flavor. This one is even less ingredients. So this one, plain and simple. Coconut flour, coconut flakes, erythritol, allulose, nothing else. Sometimes white chocolate is a little bit more. Anyhow, let's go ahead and move on. So I put that link down below in the description. Let's move into the Laird bars because these are pretty cool. I do like them as far as the protein profile is concerned. So in this case, it's a little hard to see here. It's going to be protein blend, which is pea protein crisps, and then it's going to be rice starch and pumpkin seed protein and hemp protein. So hemp protein is where you get that methionine in. Now the methionine is an amino acid that you don't get from a lot of plant sources. So I like the thoughtfulness that they put in there. Plus these are really good just tasting bars in general. The other thing that I like to look at is look at the protein content. 10 grams of protein, 170 calories. So remember, when you're looking at protein to calorie ratio, this is a really good number. Now, I obviously know Laird Hamilton very well. I know his wife, Gabby Reese, very well. Gabby's been on the channel before, and I know that they pride themselves on their ingredients. What's nice about this is they also have chaga mushroom and lion's mane in there. So this is one you might get a little mental boost from as well. I have used these a number of different times. My kids love them. They're another one that I would use if maybe I was on the hiking trail. It's not one that I would necessarily say, hey, I'm gonna eat this just to fill myself up, just because it's still fairly high calorie for the amount of protein that I'm getting. But if we're going low carb options again, let's pivot real quick over to these Cando crisp bars. I know these are relatively new at Sprouts as far as the different flavors that they've got. I think they started with a couple flavors before and now they've gone more broad. Let's look at the ingredients here. I'll tell you with these Cando crisp bars, these are a very interesting bar. A different taste for sure, but if you're someone that's doing low carb or something like that, these are a tremendous keto bar. And the calories aren't too crazy. 180 calories, and in this case with protein, we've got 10 grams of protein. Now this particular one is going to be peanuts, then it's going to be chicory root fiber, soy protein crisps, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it's what's giving it the texture and the crunch. And then we have peanut flour, dark chocolate chips, which is unsweetened chocolate, erythritol, cocoa butter, stevia extract, so there's no sugar added to it. They have almonds, erythritol, and then they have MCT oil. So you're really getting a good keto bar. So if your goal is to say, hey, I want to get ketones elevated and I want something that tastes a little bit like a candy bar, these ones are really, really good. And honest truth, I would probably say if you're doing low carb that the best option is still going to be those House of Macadamia bars, which is honestly why they're on my channel. That's like the legit reason, is they make sense with low carb because the ingredient profile is good and it's more like getting a whole food. Whereas something like this is almost a replacement for a candy bar in a way. It works great, tastes great, but you don't walk away from it always feeling like you ate real food, even though it is real food. Let's go ahead and move and see if there's some different ones that we haven't had here before. Oh, the one bars, these are great. These are probably the most realistic comparison to a Quest bar. Now, Quest bars were sold at Sprouts for a number of years, and I know they just recently got rid of the Quest bars off their shelves. And it may have been an issue with the sucralose, it could have been something. But one thing I will tell you is that these one bars, you find one that's not the crunch version. Here's one. Here's a fruity cereal bar, 220 calories, 20 grams of protein. We have a protein blend, which is going to be milk protein isolate and whey protein isolate. Not a bad combination. If I had to do it my way, usually I try to look for whey protein as high up on the list as I possibly can. Okay, whey protein is the most expensive kind of protein that you're typically going to put in these bars. So milk protein's a little cheaper, so a lot of times you'll find milk protein first and then whey protein. That's not anything shady, that's just the way the industry is, and it probably adds a better taste. But whenever possible, look for that whey protein high up on the list. That being said, with this, that is really darn high. To have milk protein and whey protein as the first ingredient, that explains why we end up at 20 grams of protein with so relatively low calories. Soluble vegetable fiber. We've got isomalto oligosaccharides, which is really just a sugar alcohol that is easily fermentable in the gut, and in my opinion, much better than maltitol. So even though that's a scary sounding name, isomalto oligosaccharides, I would go to this first before I would go to something, again, I don't have a problem with the Think Bar, but I would go with the one bar before I go to the Think Bar for that reason. However, then we get down the list and we see there is maltitol in it. So it's like, okay, are we rounding it out here with flavor, maltitol? So what you're gonna find with this is nothing bad other than the fact that you might get a little bloating from it. Vegetable glycerin, nothing to be concerned with. Palm kernel oil, that's fine. We do have some canola oil down at the bottom there, but I think they're using it somewhat more as, well, I honestly don't know why the canola oil would be in there. It seems a little bit unnecessary, and maybe they could take some valid feedback here and say, hey, let's get rid of that, because people look for those things now. With all the talk about seed oils, like, I don't think it's clearly high up on the list to be a problem, but people are gonna look at that and they're gonna walk away. Just like they're gonna probably see the sucralose and they might walk away. So I hope one bar takes this as some valuable feedback and says, hey, maybe we ditch the sucralose and we go with the monk fruit bar or monk fruit sweetener in our bars instead. It's a little bit more expensive, but I can't imagine the price point having to go up more than 25 cents or so if they did that. Now I am curious on these ones. These are their crunch bars, which I think are a little bit newer. And you're getting a first look here. Okay, sucralose is still there. Okay, here's a good example. So if you had to choose between the One Crunch and the regular One Bars, the first ingredient here is milk protein concentrate and then no whey. They got rid of the whey altogether and they went with just the milk protein concentrate. The second ingredient is maltitol, and then we get into isomulti oligosaccharides further down the line. So this one has less protein. It does have less calories, but you're probably gonna get more gut disruption from it as far as bloating is concerned. But 12 grams of protein for 140 calories versus 20 grams of protein for 220 calories. So if this was double the protein at 24, it would be 200, or almost the exact amount of protein to calorie ratio. So if you're weighing it out, it's like this one might just make more sense because you're gonna get whey protein, which is higher quality, and you're gonna get less maltitol. Oh, let's talk about this one. This is a bar that I've covered at Costco before. These are called the IQBars. I'm a big fan of them, actually. So in this case, they're a little bit more focused on, just like the name implies, being a bar for the brain. So 6 brain nutrients, 12 grams of plant-based protein, only 1 gram of sugar, 3 grams of net carbs. In this case, the ingredients are nice and easy. Almonds, tapioca fiber, plant-based protein, which is pea protein and tapioca starch. So they are kind of lacking some of the complexity to the plant-based protein world here. Natural flavors, pea protein, flax seeds. I love that they have that. You'll hear why in just a second. Unsweetened chocolate. If we go down the list here, nothing that's jumping out at me is bad. And then we get into non-GMO stevia, lion's mane, and vitamin E. So lion's mane is pretty low down the list. I don't think you're getting a huge lion's mane effect here. 12 grams of protein for 180 calories. So pretty good ratio there. Now, what's cool is, look at the fiber content. So 8 grams of fiber. So 11 grams of carbs, but 8 of which is fiber. So high protein and high fiber. One of the things I've noticed about these IQ bars is I am very full after I have them. So even though they're not going to be the best bar when it comes down to protein level, I definitely find that if I eat one of these, I just don't feel like really eating for a couple of hours. So for 180 calories, I think that's a pretty good pass off. I'm good with that. The issues that I continue to have, if you want to see me, get on my high horse, a lot of the bars in this whole world, in the bar category altogether, they lean into almonds, they lean into peanuts, and they lean into cashews. These are the least expensive nuts, so they're easy to kind of fill up a bar with. That being said, I don't have problems with them. I just think that we need to elevate the market a little bit, which is, again, why I'm a big fan of, again, the House of Macadamia ones using macadamia nuts. Or just bars that use other fatty acid profiles other than just the high omega-6 nuts. That's the nice thing about macadamia nuts is they don't have those high omega-6 contents. That being said, these are great bars. Let's see. Oh, these are interesting. I've seen people talk about these. I don't know much about them. So this is a probiotic snack bar. It's called the Belli Welli. It's supposed to be something that doesn't bloat you and is just good for the gut. Let's see about that here. So almond butter, which isn't necessarily going to be good for the gut. That actually could be quite hard on people's guts, just because of the phytic acid content for a lot of people. Oat flour, which I see where they're going with the oat flour. The idea behind the oat flour is it's a resistant starch, so it could allow for the proper fermentation of the gut and short-chain fatty acids to sort of form, which is great. But then we have cocoa butter, cane sugar, rice syrup, maltodextrin, brown sugar, sorghum flour. All those ingredients up until sorghum flour are not exactly good for the gut. We have brown rice syrup, oat bran, that could be good for the gut. We've got oats, tapioca flour, chia, lots of good things in here, but lots of things that kind of don't make sense too. I get it, but why do we need to have a lot of sugary substance in this? So great idea behind this, and it's low FODMAP, so you might not get a lot of bloating if you have a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or something. But I just think that we may want to reconsider some of the high glycemic things that are in this, and possibly consider maybe a nut unlike almonds. But I understand they're cheaper and they're easy to use, but good premise there, just needs some work. Oh, speaking of the keto bars, this company, Nix, they've been taking the world by storm. I've been seeing them pop up just about everywhere, with ice creams and with other things. So you're getting kind of a first look here. I don't really know a ton about them. Mint chocolate I'm a fan of, so let's see what we got here. It's a product of North Macedonia. Got a protein blend of milk protein concentrate, hydrolyzed collagen, calcium caseinate, whey protein concentrate, hydrolyzed whey protein, and egg white. That is a robust protein profile. Wow, all the way with that's a good protein blend. Soluble corn fiber. Okay, we got to talk on soluble corn fiber. Don't run the other way when you see soluble corn fiber. It's not a bad thing, okay? Yes, they're typically using GMO corn, but most of the literature suggests that soluble corn fiber is really fermenting in the gut just like any other fiber is. It just so happens to be sweet and it's derived from corn. So if you don't have any issue with GMO corn, you shouldn't really have any issue with soluble corn fiber. If you do have an issue with GMO corn, you may not want to use it. If that's the case, you'd want to look for non-GMO soluble corn fiber, but it's hard to come by. Unsweetened chocolate, erythritol, cacao nibs, vegetable glycerin, cocoa butter, water, xylitol. Xylitol, if you're prone to brain fog, some evidence has stated that xylitol can cross through the blood-brain barrier. Personally, when I have xylitol, I get a little brain foggy, and other people have mentioned that as well, just something to be aware of. Cocoa powder, that's all good. Sorbitol, salt, sunflower lecithin, natural flavors, and stevia. If this didn't have the sorbitol in it, I would give this a really pretty home run on a keto protein bar, because it's 12 grams of protein for 170 calories. Now, most of these keto bars you find just have so much in the way of calories. It can be kind of scary. That's a pretty low protein, higher fat bar. And most of the fats are coming, in this case, probably from the cocoa, from the chocolate, because the entire first half of the ingredient list is going to be protein. It's got collagen in there, it's got whey, it's got milk, it's got calcium caseinate, like actually pretty nice. So might be worth a shot. Okay, let's move along a little bit more and see if there's any other new ones that I haven't seen yet. You know, I think it's good that we tackle these GoMacro bars because these are super popular bars. Now, the whole idea behind a GoMacro bar, obviously they're popular. Look at how much shelf space they have. The idea behind them is macro, right? It's supposed to be a comprehensive bar. So let's look at banana almond butter, just to grab one. First ingredient's brown rice syrup. Okay, so be prepared. These are going to be a pretty high carb bar. 35 grams of carbs. Organic almond butter, organic protein blend, sprouted brown rice protein, organic pea protein, puffed brown rice, organic bananas. So, okay, 10 stars all the way across the board because of the organic ingredients. Where we run into a problem is I do not like seeing the sugary stuff that high on the list. When you're combining sugars and fats, you can run into some problems. You can run into some potential things called metabolic gridlock. I wouldn't really be overly concerned with it unless you're in a caloric surplus already. But basically, high amounts of fat and carbs at the same time, there's something in the body called the Randall cycle. We're not really designed to have high amounts of these at one time. When you get into the bars that are not keto friendly, whether you're keto or not, you're going to have that. You're going to have fats and sugar combined. That can be problematic for some people. Now, one of the things that I would prefer is that you find a bar that, even if you're not doing low carb, that is a low carb bar, but sweetened with the right things like monk fruit, stevia, erythritol, maybe less in the way of the sorbitol and the maltitol. So as far as the ingredient profile, I think that they're onto something good here. I just am a little bit concerned that this is a lot of sugar and a lot of fat in one sitting. Let's see, maybe there's a different one. What about mint chocolate chip? Again, first ingredient, brown rice syrup, then we go into cashew butter. So 35 grams of carbs, 12 grams of sugar, including 11 grams of added sugars. So this bar might be good if you're just literally trying to replace a meal. But the problem that we run into with that is there's only 11 grams of protein. So the protein to calorie ratio for just a meal replacement bar is not gonna make the mark there. I will say they're definitely delicious. They're good if you were maybe on like just a super long excursion, a long hike, a long bike ride or something, you needed more calories. Here's a different one. Oh, what's this? It's an over easy breakfast bar. Okay, there's practically no protein in this one. Organic oats, almonds, honey, almond butter, tapioca fiber, dried apples, egg whites down towards the bottom, cinnamon, vanilla extract, and sea salt. Yeah, we've got 26 grams of carbs, 7 grams of fiber. I like the ingredient profile as far as the cleanliness. Like there's no preservatives. This is just a high carb bar. So if you really, again, that's not gonna be the best bet when it comes down to the protein. And I have a hard time believing that the 9 grams of protein is coming from the egg whites. So that's the thing. It's easy to look at that and say, okay, there's 9 grams of protein, but we have egg whites in it. So all that protein's coming from the egg whites. Just a quick recap on how you actually read the labels here. there's still gonna be protein in oats, there's gonna be protein in almonds, there's gonna be protein in almond butter, okay? That is still gonna contribute to what this part says when it says protein. It does not mean that it's a complete protein. It's the difference between having, say, a bowl of rice, which has protein, and eating a steak, which has protein. So if you have 20 grams of protein coming from a bowl of rice or 20 grams of protein coming from a steak, the protein from the steak is going to be a complete protein, which means it has the essential amino acids necessary to actually contribute to forming these, peptide bonds and all these different things that we need in the body to actually repair, recover, and whatnot. All right, let's take a look at the Lenny and Larry's bars. Just because people ask about them all the time. These are actually cookies, and they're a little bit interesting because they're not gluten-free, which is a little bit unusual in a lot of the bars these days and the cookies. So it's basically straight up a cookie. You've got enriched wheat flour, then you've got, that's just basically justifying the wheat flour there, vital wheat gluten, pea protein, and rice protein as the protein source, cane sugar, inulin, palm fruit oil, white chips. It's just a cookie, guys. Like, the only thing that is making this less of a cookie is they put some pea protein and rice protein in there. Now, they clearly sell. I see them everywhere, and I think they probably taste delicious. I don't eat them because I don't eat gluten, so I don't really know. But I gotta tell you, out of all these different options here, like, there's a lot of other things that might fit the bill a little bit better. If you're looking for a cookie, QuestBar has some decent cookies. I don't think they're sold at Sprouts anymore. I actually am not too opposed to the QuestBar cookies. I haven't seen this one before, so let's check it out. This is called a Toto plant-based cookie. I have no idea what I'm looking at here. Almond butter, organic coconut sugar, so still it's not low carb, vegan white chocolate chips, coconut sugar, tapioca starch, rice syrup solids, organic sunflower spirulina for color, flax meal, pea protein. I mean, just looking at straight macros, let's see, 460 calories and what is this? 16 grams of pretty low quality protein in this one, versus 8 grams of protein and 360 calories in this one. That being said, this is a, let's see, 57 gram serving. So that's gonna be per cookie. Yeah, you're getting a lot more of this. So very similar calories. So calorie to calorie, these are actually quite similar. What's different is the ingredient profile on this one is better. So if you're looking apples to apples, this one's gonna be a little bit better, just because it's organic and the ingredient profile looks better. I wish there was a more sugar-free sort of cookie option here. Oh, I wanna talk about one that is really important. It's these Power Crunch bars. These are super popular because they sell them even at some gas stations, and I think it's important that we cover them. They taste delicious. Again, this particular one, it's got a proto whey protein blend, micropeptides from a high DH hydrolyzed whey protein isolate, and milk protein isolate. So this is exactly what I was saying to look for with protein. So this is a hydrolyzed whey protein and a whey protein isolate as the first ingredients. That's precisely what you want to look for when you're looking at the protein hierarchy. The higher that those ingredients are on the list, the better you're going to be. So, I mean, as far as the protein hierarchy, this one nails it. Then we get interesting with this. Because this is a wafer bar, then you get into enriched flour, wheat flour, malted barley. It's basically got flour in it. It blows it for me because I don't eat gluten, and a lot of people don't eat gluten. But let's just pretend for a second the gluten's not there, and let's continue on down the line. Get into kind of this palm kernel oil, sugar, fructose, cocoa processed with alkali, maltodextrin. Then we just got some basic stuff, some ammonium bicarbonate and stuff like that, stevia. So you already have stevia in there, but then you're sweetening it with sugar. So there are 12 grams of carbs, 5 grams of sugar, all of which are added sugars. So between the wheat and the sugar, this one would be a no-go. It's just unfortunate because they're spending a lot of money on getting the protein high up on the list. And their actual price here of $1.99 for pretty good protein to calorie ratio, but just high quality protein, it tells me that unless they're going for a slightly lower market product, like they could afford to ditch the sugar and maybe go with something like stevia and monk fruit all the way. And I don't think it would change the taste much. And I hope that they watch this and just see this as feedback, because these things have a really good intent. Again, they're spending that much money on putting the good proteins first. I think their hearts are in the right place. They just might be afraid to re-innovate in the, they might lose a taste So I don't know if there is any Power Crunch that is gluten-free. I don't see one, let alone one that is sugar-free. So that's unfortunate there. Okay, there's another one here. This is a keto-friendly bar. It's called an Atlas bar. We've got a dark chocolate almond. It's almond chocolate chip. Let's check this one out. I've never looked at this one before too, so we'll get sort of my opinion on it. It's got ashwagandha in it. Let's see. 20 grams of protein, 210 calories. First ingredient, aha, look at this. Grass-fed protein blend. First ingredient, whey protein isolate, then whey protein concentrate, then milk protein isolate. Exactly where we want to be in a protein hierarchy once again. Perfect. Nailed that. Almond butter, whey protein crisps, soluble vegetable fiber, vegetable glycerin, water, coconut oil as the fat, chocolate, cocoa butter, natural flavors, sunflower lecithin, Himalayan salt, ashwagandha, and monk fruit. There's not even erythritol in this, which is interesting. This is a really good keto-friendly protein bar. This is a really, really good one here. So, wow, that's pretty interesting. So if you're actually trying to do low carb and you want a bar that is going to be a little bit in the higher protein with good quality protein, this is what you want to do. Let me kind of just recap a little bit so we have a little bit of an idea of like the ones that are the best. I'm going to kind of I've got this one in my hand. As far as a protein bar is concerned, this one takes the cake. And this was not staged as the last one. It just so happens to be that good. As far as like a comprehensive, like good tasting and bar that's going to be probably the healthiest bar, if I had to label one the healthiest bar, the House of Macadamia bars are going to be the healthiest. Like there's no other bars here that are straight up macadamia nuts. So as far as a health bar goes, this one 100%. Protein bar, this one 100%. As far as just good, simple ingredients, I would say the RXBar. Let's see, I'm gonna try to find one that doesn't have the cashews in it. So in this case, we got a peanut one. I guess go for the peanuts instead of the cashews in this case. And then the Larabar is a really good one if you just want like simple ingredients. And then as far as a bar that's just gonna give you the best sense of like a candy bar tasting thing, the Cando crisp bars. And those, like the chocolate mint one's really good. I don't know if they have there's one that this one. If you're doing keto, butter and salt, it's a pretty cool flavor. It's like literally butter flavor. I'm gonna grab one of those. So I'm gonna buy one of each of the ones that are really, really top notch. So again, protein bar, overall best health bar, overall just simple ingredients with nothing else, really basic, and closest to a candy bar. Now, again, they're all gonna have their different perks, and now you know what to look for when you're looking at nutritional bars. I'll see you tomorrow.